Coming up next on The Voice of Alabama Politics, AMCC lawyers in chaos. Also, Figures speaks at DNC. And some folks take pride in running down our country. And that gets him on the fighting side of me.
Just a minute, partner. You can't talk to me like that. Them's fighting words.
I agree with that guy. All this and much, much more coming up next on The V. Welcome to The Voice of Alabama Politics, where we tackle the tough issues so you have the hard facts. I'm your host, Bill Britt, and as always, I'm joined by Susan Britt, research guru extraordinaire, and Josh Moon, columnist and investigative reporter at APR.
Hi, guys.
Hey, Susan.
Hey, y'all.
Look at Josh's background.
I
He's
know
in
he's got his
studio
own studio now.
How about that?
Nice,
Yeah, right.
nice.
It's, the check's finally cleared.
Yeah. You know, we listen to political rhetoric all the time, and people say all kinds of things to win elections. I have found that I am taking exceptions to certain things.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't care who people vote for. They can vote Republican, they can vote Democrat, they can vote Swahili, they can vote in any language or religion they want to. They can even vote for bootologists. I don't care. What I do care about is the United States of America, and I care about Alabama. And when I hear people say that our country is a third world country, that it's a country in decline, when I am told that my neighborhood is a hellscape and that vermin are infecting our country and immigrants are poisoning the blood of our people, I feel like old Merle Haggard did when he wrote a song in the 70s called Fight Inside of Me. And in that song, he sang, when you're running down my country, man, you're walking on the fight inside of me. And I'm just so tired of politicians telling me that America is not a great nation. You know, when I look around my neighborhood, same neighborhood you live in, when I go to Josh's neighborhood, when I travel the state of Alabama, I see good people working hard. I see neighborhoods that are good neighborhoods. Now, do we have bad neighborhoods? Do we have neighborhoods that need attention? Yes. But I do not see a nation in decline. And I've traveled to almost every state in the country, and I don't see it. I see a country that is great and doing great and will get better if we continue to move forward. But look at Alabama's employment rate. Look at the jobs that's being created. Look at how good things are here. Don't tell me Alabama is a hellhole.
It's not a hellhole. I was just in downtown Italy yesterday, and it's growing and thriving. We've got new businesses popping up, which is very, and there's the neighborhoods that are bad have been bad for years. This is not a new phenomenon. But just to degrade the entire country over a few small problems in areas, it just gets under my skin as well.
I mean, Josh, I was taught to stand up for my country, not to degrade it. I remember when Merle Haggard wrote that song, is because people were protesting the Vietnam War and they were demonizing our soldiers and the way people live their lives. Today, it's okay if our military people are mocked and called suckers and losers. This is not the America I grew up in. It's not the America I live in.
No, it's apparently okay to assault somebody at the Arlington National Cemetery on your way for a photo op. You know, it's honestly, I don't think anyone truly believes that. I don't think anyone truly believes that America is a hellscape, a declining country, and all this thing. It's political rhetoric for a group of people that don't have a plan to govern. Okay, that's all it is you have to convince people that things are terrible and awful and that you might be murdered crossing the street when you don't have policy ideas. And, for the rest of everybody out here in America who go to work every day, who go, coach their kids in Little League, who go, pick, to their kids' schools and different things around the neighborhood and participate with folks out there, they look around when somebody tells them that the world is the country's a hellscape and their neighborhoods are going to hell. They look around and think, "What are you talking about, man?
Yeah.
I've been out here all day. Where are you been?
Yeah.
And when people spew this rhetoric about immigrants, when we and then head off to the Mexican restaurants, it's and you pass by neighborhoods, up where I live in Madison, there is so much construction.
Yeah.
And so much life happening everywhere. And so much of it is a mix of people, of Black, of Hispanic, of white people. And, in the neighborhoods where we live and in the jobs that people are doing. And everybody seems to be getting along fairly well. Yeah, we've got some problems. But, the great thing about America to me is we've always had a number of people who have said, this is the greatest country on earth. Yeah. How can we make it better? And not without tearing it down, but building it up.
If it's such a terrible place, why do we have an immigration problem? I mean, answer me that question. If America is such a terrible place, it's such a hellhole, why are people breaking down the borders to get here?
Yeah, because it's a great place.
Because it's a great place to live and work.
And that goes back to
wait a minute.
nonsense.
But they're not just crossing the border
in conservative media.
They're not just crossing the border. They're literally walking thousands of miles through other countries to get here.
Yeah, because we have freedom, we have jobs, we have a secure nation. And yes, do we need to fix the border? Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Was there a chance? Yes. Just this week, we were in Albertville twice,
yeah.
And we talked to business owners, we talked to people who worked in shops and fast food places, and not a one of them had heard anything about this narrative about Haitian gangs or, cannibals. Mm-hmm. They had not heard anything about trafficking. I had one woman say, well, I have neighbors that are Hispanic. I don't know what they are. If they mind their own business, they keep their yard clean, and they're good neighbors. But none of this seems to be true, because when you talk to citizens, they don't even know it exists. And that's a small town.
Well, and you think about Albertville and Boaz. I mean, it used to take, 30 minutes to get from where we live to Gunnersville. Now it takes an hour.
Yeah.
Now, when it first started to boom, it was used cars and stuff like that. But when the migrants came in, they started to build out chicken plants and whatever. It's huge up there now. It caused a huge economic boom in just those two cities in Alabama.
Well, it's a growing place. It seems like a nice place. They got nice restaurants. Mm-hmm. They got nice houses. It is not,
they got nice shops.
Once again, another hellscape on earth.
No.
We love this country. We want to make it even better. You're watching the voice of Alabama politics. We'll be right back.
My personal biggest pet peeve is kids who are not properly restrained, whether that be in a booster seat, a car seat, or even a simple seatbelt. Kids, they become projectiles, and it's terrifying.
It absolutely breaks my heart to know that something so innocent could be punished so severely.
Your children rely on you to be that person that says, no, you need to put your seatbelt on.
Your home is your most valuable asset. But what if someone tried to steal it from you? Property fraud is one of the fastest growing areas of fraud in the country today.
As a district attorney, I've seen firsthand the devastating effects of property fraud. That's why I'm proud to support the Montgomery County Probate Court's REACT program.
REACT is designed to protect your property and to give you peace of mind. By signing up, you'll receive an email notification if a document is filed against your property.
This program is a game changer. It has the potential to prevent fraud and protect countless homeowners throughout Montgomery County.
So don't wait. Sign up for REACT today and protect your home.
Protect your home with REACT. Sign up today.
Welcome back to the voice of Alabama politics. This past week, the Alabama Medical Cannabis Commission is up to its old shenanigans, Josh, and you've been writing about it, how they're putting out some sort of fake PR, and also how their attorneys are not sure if they want to represent them anymore.
Yeah, I'm honestly, so what you're talking about there were a couple of motions to withdraw that were filed by one of the law firms that's been representing the Alabama Medical Cannabis Commission, and nobody's really sure exactly what happened. But there were a couple of them filed in different cases that involve these lawsuits that have been filed by companies, that are upset about the process that they went through in licensing, and and all of a sudden these motions come in for some of the attorneys to leave.
Yeah,
they want to get out, and then a little while later, sometimes same day, a little while later, they filed another motion saying, we're gonna vacate that. That was filed by mistake.
Yeah.
Okay. Which, is okay. It's a little weird that you wrote up a whole thing and got out and then it was filed by mistake, but whatever. I honestly, I don't know. It was just a weird thing. Okay?
We don't know if there's chaos or if somebody's getting cold feet because there's something happening in the background, or if it's just lawyers being lawyers. Okay.
Yeah, just lawyers being lawyers, or if it was some sort of a weird mistake that somebody made. But that said, there were several stories earlier in the week about a ruling from the appeals court that came down that essentially dismissed the Alabama Medical Cannabis Commission from one of the lawsuits that was filed by a company that did not receive a license. And the comments from the spokesperson for the AMCC made it seem as though this was somewhat of a win for them, and that maybe this could start moving the whole process forward, when all it was a technical ruling that was based on a conflict in the law and the Alabama Constitution about whether or not you should name the entity in which the government entity, or you should just name the employees of the government entity. And there's a disagreement in the law. And so all of this has been handled in some other cases, and they just basically dismissed it and refiled the same lawsuit. So all of these things still exist. Yeah. Okay. All of the lawsuits still exist. All of the problems still exist. It didn't move the ball forward at all. The only thing that it did was stall the process out for weeks and weeks and weeks again, while they waited on the appeals court to rule on this particular thing.
But isn't some of this intentional? They just want to hold it up until somebody gives up or something. I mean, we're coming up on nearly the fourth year since this was passed. This is like the 4-year anniversary. Mm-hmm. I mean, we can't get the baby out of the cradle, Susan.
There's only one answer. Start over.
Yeah.
Get rid of the city members on the commission. Get rid of the director. Get rid of everybody involved. Get rid of the lawyers. Let them deal with the lawsuits that are already existing and just start over.
They definitely need to get rid of the lawyers. I mean, the lawyers, in my view, and Josh, you can chime in on this, have been the biggest obstacle to getting this done, because they're making a lot of money doing it, holding up and these lawsuits. And
I mean, let's assume, because it certainly appears this way, that they screwed this process up by failing to follow the Alabama Administrative Procedures Act. Right. They screwed it up because the lawyers wrote this thing, okay? They set up the process by which a license is handed out. So, yes, they screwed it up from the very beginning, and now they are getting paid over and over and over again. I want to say, I don't know how many millions of dollars at this point we're into them for.
Couple of million.
We're defending their screw up at this point. That's what we're doing now. Is we're trying to defend a screw up on the front side where they failed to follow the law. And I don't know why why the people at the top levels of our government are sitting around and allowing this to take place.
I mean, the one of the head attorneys, his background is in defending insurance companies in court. This does not qualify you to be representing the Alabama Medical Cannabis Commission.
Well,
It qualifies you to basically be, somebody who's trying to beat a guy out of his insurance claim.
Well, and Finance Director Poole has said, we didn't budget for this, guys.
Yeah.
We didn't budget for all of these legal expenses. And where do you think we're going to come up for the money to pay for them?
And meanwhile, hundreds and maybe thousands of Alabamians are doing it without the medication that they were promised nearly 4 years ago. Well, on to something more positive. I meant to bring this up last week. We didn't get to it. But Shomari Figures, who is running as a candidate in Alabama's 2nd congressional district, spoke at the DNC on Thursday night, the same night as Kamala Harris and Tim Walz accepted the nomination. And it was a really compelling speech about Voting Rights Act. He did a great job. I'd never heard him speak before. Did a great job. But he is the son of Vivian Figures.
My good friend.
Vivian Figures, wonderful person. And the son of the late Michael Figures, who was a civil rights attorney and also a state senator. Very impressive young man. And I think that district is maybe not leans Democrat, but I think he's got a super chance in winning that district.
Yeah, and he like you said, he was very much about voters' rights. He talked about, he's from the area with the Tuskegee Airmen. He brought up Rosa Parks, of course, Fred Gray, and Congressman John Lewis.
Yeah.
All, of course, from Alabama and what that meant to voting rights, the voting rights movement.
Well, they're certainly trying to suppress voting rights here in Alabama. We've heard from a lot of people that are citizens who got letters from Secretary of State this past week, sending out letters to citizens who registered to vote. I asked them, how come they aren't registered to vote? Why just that nonsense. But anyway, you've talked to Shomari Figures, so you have a better sense of him than I do.
Oh yeah, listen, Shomari's great, and I think he'll be a great representative of that district down there, and he certainly knows it. I'll tell you, we had Shomari on our podcast. That's Alabama Politics this week on all your podcast platforms, and we had him on, and we at one point in there, David Person, who co-hosts with me on there, he threw out just a pretty random thing about a problem very unique to a certain city down there, a water system issue that's been taking place for a long time. And honestly, we both expected, listen, we've heard from some people, a real political kind of answer. Shomari went in to a 10-minute talk about the problems and the specifics of the problems and how he felt like that he could use his connections at the Department of Justice and within the federal government once he got into office to assist these folks and get them out of the predicament that they're in. And it was so specific. And I mean, he's done his homework. He knows what he's doing. And I think that I don't think anybody else, any other candidate in the race, certainly right now, would have been able to answer it with that specificity.
Well, Caroline Dobson is down at the border, observing the border. She's down there to draw emphasis to how Alabama is threatened by what's happening down at the border, which is at the lowest ebb it's been.
Is she looking for workers for a ranch? Is that?
You're so mean. Anyway, you're watching the voice of Alabama politics. We'll be right back.
My personal biggest pet peeve is kids who are not properly restrained, whether that be in a booster seat, a car seat, or even a simple seatbelt. Kids, they become projectiles, and it's terrifying.
It absolutely breaks my heart to know that something so innocent could be punished so severely.
Your children rely on you to be that person that says, no, you need to put your seatbelt on.
125, 620. As a paramedic, you wouldn't believe the things that we've seen.
I've seen all types of horrible things.
I mean, we're there basically picking up the pieces from your worst day.
Everyone is just driving and not paying attention.
We all have the same goal. All of us want to go home alive and safe and harm nobody else in the process.
Slow down. Be careful. Care about the other people on the road. Don't be the reason that someone else doesn't go home tonight.
Welcome back to the V, the voice of Alabama politics. This is a concerning story. Josh, you wrote about this, and a lawsuit alleges that there was some type of abuse at a home, a for-profit home, a youth home. A for-profit youth home, there's accusations against the staff, against the home. And again, I have to say, these are allegations, they're not proven facts. But this is the kind of disturbing thing that you hear about, and you just, it's compelling. And I'm gonna let you explain it, and then I'm gonna ask the question, why is Steve Marshall not looking into this? But go explain it first.
Well, yeah. First of all, it is a lawsuit for a youth facility over in Tuskegee, and it is filed by the Tommy James law firm. And you've probably, if you're in the media, you've probably seen, or if you just paid attention to some of the media over the last several years, you've probably seen that law firm's name in regards to a number of these lawsuits against youth treatment facilities, for-profit youth treatment facilities around the state of Alabama, and some of the allegations of the horrific things that they say are taking place in these facilities. And essentially, I think the crux of these lawsuits, and this one as well, is that, people put their troubled young people in the, parents or whoever, whatever, put their troubled young folks in these facilities for an exorbitant amount of money at times. And they're not receiving the care that should be, and oftentimes they're coming out abused and neglected, and with all sorts of horrific stories. And this is another one in a long line of those things. And I think the allegation here is that basically they're just taking the money and not providing a necessary level of care for these folks that they should be. In this case, they're talking. This young man had been assaulted at least 3 different times, was denied medical treatment for some of the injuries that he received. And, he talked about the guards being completely absent for a 30-minute brawl, or not the guards, the staff. I shouldn't say guards, staff was absent for a 30-minute brawl, and so we have all sorts of allegations of things that's going on in these. And I don't know where this falls, because it's not a state-run agency. All right. I don't know where this falls under Steve Marshall's purview.
Well, I know this, that if you had a child, a teen or a child in your home, and you abuse them, if you abuse them, it would at least be the county sheriff or the city police that would investigate. Again, and maybe this doesn't fall in his purview, but someone in law enforcement should have a duty to go down there and start an investigation.
Absolutely.
This is not abuse is not just a civil matter.
No, it's not. And they are entrusted to the care of these people. Therefore, they're basically their custodians, So somebody needs to, some enforcement agency needs to go down there and take a look at this. Because if somebody doesn't intervene, we're going to start talking about deaths in these situations.
Again, I understand these are for troubled teens, troubled kids that are having problems. But if true, I think this is bigger than a civil matter, because you just can't go around abusing kids and go, oh, well, the only recourse here is to sue them. Josh, maybe I'm missing the boat.
What would happen if in a just regular school situation, if you had these things going on, the sheriff would come in?
You would think so, but maybe I'm missing the point.
Well, I will say that, the allegation here involves other troubled teens assaulting each other. So we have that sort of situation. Now, you get into issues of neglect and taking money that you're not, necessarily using for the proper purposes and things like that. So maybe some of that falls over into the AG's office or the sheriff's office or something along those lines, or maybe they'll keep an eye on these things and hope to crack down on them through maybe, I don't know, the consumer protection portion of the Attorney General's responsibilities. But it's regardless, somebody's got to do something at some point. We've got to get some oversight over these facilities.
Well, and I understand that better. So staff is not participating, They're just not doing anything about it.
And from what I'm understanding,
Right.
there's some reports that they are encouraging fighting too.
Right. I thought I saw that too. Now,
Yeah.
that certainly
That's a problem.
That certainly would be a major problem
Yeah.
right there. I tell you another problem we have, and this kind of goes right over to this thing. There's a bipartisan bill started by Philip Insler, who is representative, and his HB 26. And Susan, basically, this is to stop people from buying a implement, a tool that can turn their Glock handgun into a machine gun.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct?
That's correct. That's correct. This, much like a bump stock, also it just modifies a gun so that you can turn it into an automatic weapon, even though it's not an automatic weapon. We've got enough problems with automatic weapons as it is, but the only thing is we're in Alabama. You know, they didn't stop the bump stock. They're not going to stop this. They've made that very clear that they are all about, you know, the Republicans in the legislature are all about guns. Any way you modify them, it doesn't matter.
Josh, but I would think law enforcement would be in favor of laws like this because they don't want to be staring down automatic weapons if they have to go in and arrest someone. And they certainly don't want them shooting up schools with automatic weapons or, I mean, this just seems like common sense gun responsibility here.
Well, who cares, Bill? I mean, you know, listen, who cares what those cop things? We need these things for protection. Okay, we need these these bump stocks and these Glock switches for protection because when someone comes into my house, I want to know that I can fire off 16 rounds uncontrollably in some random direction all through the house. Or if I want to pull the gun out, I want to make sure that once I start firing it, I can't stop until the bullets run out. I mean, that's just common sense, Bill. I mean, this is common sense gun law that we're talking about here. And, you know, why wouldn't we want these things? And why do we listen to police on matters like this? Stop it.
Yeah, I know I'm being foolish here, but there just seems like there should be some common sense. You know, we own firearms, but, you know, they're kept responsibly. We don't have any
And I know how to aim.
We don't have any machine guns on the premise. And I tell you what, you start whipping out one of these things in the dead of night and start shooting at people, you're going to be blind and deaf.
Yes, you are.
By the end of it. But again, that, you know, it's Alabama, baby. That's how we roll.
Maybe that's a good thing.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, you've been watching the voice of Alabama politics. You watch us because we watch them.